Hello, welcome to River Reflections. You just saw a slice of our church life. If you at all thought it looked like fun to be there, please do visit us. We're at 3412 Leonard Northwest, just into Walker. There's a sign in the yard, so in case you didn't get it off the TV stats just now, or you can wait until afterwards, I think there's more stats going on. But be sure to come and visit us if you're looking for a church home especially. And if you are curious about what it means to be a Christian, I'd love to see you there, and literally you can come up to me or my husband or any number of people at the church and just say, I need somebody to tell me, what in the world is this? What does it mean to be a Christian? I'm very, very curious. And I don't care if you're a Muslim or a Buddhist or whatever it is you are right now. If you're curious about what does it mean to be a Christian, we'd love to tell you what it means. It really doesn't matter what you are not right now. And sometimes when you find out, and you pray, Lord, whoever made this tree right here, show me what the true way is. And He'll do that. He will show you what His truth is. And if you want to ask questions, that's what we're there for. Please feel free to come and visit us. We would love that. I continue the interview. I did it last week. Hopefully you saw it. With my niece, Gypsy Meadows, who has been having a fascinating time with following the Lord, and when His cloud moves, she moves with it. When He says go, she goes, and that has taken her to different countries, different situations. We'll be talking about that. I think somewhere along the line, I hope, her website is being put on the screen, so if you're curious more about her ministry, you can look up the website, which hopefully they are putting on the screen really quickly. I'm staring at the screen, and it is there. The website is there. Yay. And if you want to see more about her ministry, please go indiaschildren.org. That's pretty generic for the name of your ministry, and .org, right?
Yes.
Good job. Good job. Not hard to remember. So look it up, and if you have any kind of inkling towards being involved on any level, and you'll hear more in this program about different ways people can actually plug in, some very serious ways when we get to the garden part.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's ways to plug in. But I'll go back to the fact that Gypsy said she has always felt, well, always, since you were 16, felt a call to deal with orphans in particular.
Yes.
And you thought that was going to be China. It didn't turn out that way. She happened to get scheduled for a trip at the same time there was a massacre in Tiananmen Square, so she only was able to spend just a few days in China subsequent to that. Ended up in Hong Kong for 3 months. Came back here. We took her through her marriage and her divorce and her working with a Christian organization. Did they overlap, or didn't you get that other job until you were done being married?
I know I got I started working for a nonprofit because I needed a full-time job because I was now a single mother.
Okay, so that started with a single mother.
That launched me back into
We didn't get the part about the 2 wonderful kids she's got. You know, that's the one nice thing about a marriage, no matter what happens, if you get this wonderful child out of it.
Right. No, God uses everything.
He does. He does.
Yeah, so He used my marriage. He used that time to mature me. In fact, I used to put my kids down for a nap every day and spend 3 hours studying the Bible and going through someone's school of miracles, a minister that God had used to wake me up in my calling. And so even my stay-at-home mom time became preparation for what He was about to do.
For the ministry.
Yes.
You know what, I want to underline that, because even if we make a mistake in some of our choices, God has, I said to Robert one day with the GPS in my phone, I said, when the lady says, take a U-turn, and you've gotten off the route, and she reroutes, right? I said to Robert, that's how God is. He reroutes.
True.
He reroutes.
He does. He's very gracious that way.
So we make a wrong choice, and He can even use the lessons that
He
we
uses
learn.
it all.
He uses every scrap of it.
He never expected us to be perfect. I mean, the genealogy of Jesus I love it because it's full of mistakes and sin and that's where Jesus came from. His line.
Yeah, very human, very God.
Yes.
Yeah, yet He never sinned. which
No.
gives us hope that
Right.
His Spirit in us will propel us into more and more Christ-likeness. That's what we're holding on to, that hope.
Mhm.
Yeah? Yeah.
Yes.
We're changing. See, that's where that 70 and I am where I'm at. It's like, man, when am I going to totally grow up? But anyway, moving right along.
You have an
Okay.
eternity to do that.
Yeah, well, that's true too. Yeah, I'd like to get to where when He says, well done, thou good and faithful servant, there's a matter of truth involved. Some truth. Anyway, we're going to go back to, you're in this organization, you have to take trips to India because they're working with developing schools in underdeveloped areas.
Right, right.
But then you left the organization and felt that God told you to start India's Child. Okay,
Yes.
now we brought you to there.
Okay,
Ta-da!
all right.
Okay, now you can take it from there.
All
Tell us
right.
about it.
Yeah, well, in my work with actually 2 organizations during a 9-year time, I met a lot of people who ran orphanages and schools. I got to know them personally. I knew that they were reliable, that they were sincere, and but my frustration with the 2 organizations that I worked for was that their purpose was different than my true heart was, which at the core of my being, it's to take care of a child. And there's really no religion attached to that even. It's just Jesus said, care for the orphans and widows. And so even if we're providing education,
Gypsy, sweetheart,
Yes.
that is true religion.
Right,
Remember
it
James?
is, it is.
True religion, undefiled before God.
Right.
The widows, that is religion. You're mistaking man's perverse messing up of religion with...
well, they were good. They are good
Yeah.
causes, but one
Okay.
was focused on education,
Yeah.
and I knew that orphans can't go to school. They don't have. If you don't have a home to go home to, no one's there to send you to school. No one's there to give you your uniforms. So those kids were getting left out. In the next organization, it was focused on evangelism, and again, the orphans were not being part of the program very much, and so God used my calling, which was for orphans, so that I would have the courage to launch out and start my own organization that built on the relationships that I got in those times of India. So now I had people that I trusted to work with in India.
That's
And I can
precious.
focus on the children and their needs. So that's what India's Children does today. We work not just with orphanages, we also work with schools that help the very poorest children. But the goal is those who are homeless, those who are most vulnerable. And the goal is to provide for all of their needs, their physical, soul needs, and their spiritual needs. And so if you go to our website, you'll see a little bit more detail, but it's basically that every child has the same basic needs, no matter where they are in the world. They all need a good home, they need food, they need a good teacher, they need a hope for their future. So that includes both vocational training and a spiritual knowledge that there's a God who loves them, that has a purpose for their life.
Now,
So-
you have been a follower of and a worker for pretty well-known minister Tim Story for how many years now?
Yeah, I have worked with him for 19 years.
Wow.
And I know that because when I first was introduced to his ministry, I was pregnant with my son who's 19, so it's easy
so
to
now
remember.
you know. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And I remember your mom really liked him and his sister, Berna. And the reason I brought him up right now is because you were telling me his influence on your life and some of his life message. And I think in your last paragraph, just before I inserted this paragraph, I heard those things about destiny and
Exactly.
hope. And I
Right.
heard his teaching come through, which has become your heart as well.
Yes. I
Yeah.
mean, that's why it's just so amazing when you can look back on your life and see all the ways that God was planning ahead. It says, the Bible says that his gifts and his calling are irrevocable. And, you never can run away from your calling. That's what I tell
It's there.
people. You can try to run from it, but it's going to come chasing you, because God cares, because he gave you an assignment. There's a reason you were born, everyone on earth, and he wants to see you fulfill it. So in my case, I was supposed to reach people, reach children with the love of God. And during the years that I was married, I became very disheartened with what I saw happening in the church world. And so even though I never lost my relationship with God, I definitely pulled away from the church.
Do you think it's because the emphasis was on the spiritual and you didn't see as much caretaking for the natural needs of people? Was that part of it?
Some of that was. Some of it was that I felt like there was a lot of talk, but there wasn't a lot of action behind it. Even when it came to, yes, we can heal the sick, we can do the things Jesus did, but I didn't see the church leaders doing what Jesus did. Mm-hmm. And that might sound judgmental, but that's just where I was at. I was sad.
Perceived.
And I had also the core of what I believed was true and right about being a Christian was having a relationship with God through Jesus. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see a lot of that in the church leaders that were in my influence in my life. I didn't see a lot of emphasis on relationship with God and submission to Him. At the time, there was a lot of hoopla about experiencing the presence of God. It was all about the river of God, and people would like to shake and all that stuff. Yeah. But there wasn't that,
daily 24/7
humility toward God of so I just backed away. My mom thought I was backslidden, and so she would always try to get me to go to church, and I would always say no. And for some reason this time she said, there's this person that I really think you'd like, and it was Tim Story. And I saw in his ministry that he was operating in signs and wonders. He was healing people, but his message was about relationship with God and having a purpose for your life. Mm-hmm. And that was the first leader that I had seen demonstrate those two things. Mm-hmm. So it was the first time I was willing to look up and say, hey, I think I'll listen to what you're saying. Mm-hmm. So God used his ministry to, I say, wake me up. I had kind of fallen asleep, and he woke me up and then gave me the tools. Let me ask you something.
When you woke up, could you rewind it all to things that others had said in your church? Your mom never came to our church, so I just tell everybody I wouldn't take any of this personal to my own walk.
Right. This is my individual experience.
Right, exactly. You were in a whole nother environment. But once you woke up, did any of that which had been planted in you come alive along with your wake up?
I would say I had good teaching. I had good theology teaching in my Christian education. Mm-hmm. Was mostly where it came from. Mm-hmm. So that was good. Mm-hmm. But most of what I drew from was that strong relationship with God that I developed in my bedroom every night, just reading the Bible and learning to speak to God, and throughout the day learning to hear His voice as a teenager. Yeah. And so now I just had someone in the pulpit that could validate that. And I knew that if he knew God that way and I knew God that way, then he must have something worth listening to. Mm-hmm. And so, I'm sure there are many ministers like him, but he's the one that came. Maybe he came to my church just for me.
Oh, God,
I don't know.
Him to wake you
it's
up.
The message I needed to hear.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes,
that's great. Yeah.
And then for whatever reason, God just kept me on that path of just helping his ministry, and so I've stayed in touch with him throughout the years and worked quite closely with him. But the real reason, the real blessing for me was that it woke me up and connected me to my calling and to serving God again. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And
so let's get back to that. You're at the one organization. Now you branched out on your own to start the ministry, your ministry,
right.
India's Child.
India's Children.
Children.
Yep, but that's close
Children.
enough. There's so many children, we can't say one child. There are 26 million orphans in India. 26 million. Yes. So you'll never run out of work to do. And my organization.
Say you go there. I'm sorry.
Oh no, my organization will never be the organization. I mean, there needs to be many organizations helping the children. Yes.
So when you go there, you say you just listen to God. Where do you want me today? What am I going to do? Tell me some of the things that he ends up doing with you.
Yes. I was mentioning to you that I don't often have an agenda when I go to India. God directs me that it's time to go, so I block out a few weeks and I go, and my friends there have figured it out by now. I'll let them know a little bit in advance when I'm coming. I really just I let God tell me what to do, and I think a lot of times it's based on people's response. You know, it's not anything hokey. It's just sometimes it takes a person to say yes. So I may feel like I should send an email to these 3 people and say, I'm in India, would you like to get together? Now this last trip, 2 of them said yes, and they were in the same city and they wanted to get together on the same day. So I said, that's clear.
All 3 of you then?
Two people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like there were 2 different meetings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's what I was
one with
looking
one
at,
person
yeah.
in the morning. So I hopped a plane, went to Calcutta in the morning, met with one woman in her home that is going to be a crucial connection. Then took a taxi to another coffee shop, met with another woman who is going to support our ministry in a very big way. And then came back to Delhi where I was staying, and it was just one of those God days that you know, it wasn't planned ahead of time.
Could share the vision.
But they made big strides in our organization of the connections that we'll have this year.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
You were telling me earlier about 2 relatively new endeavors, one being the gardens, the other being the art.
Yes.
Can you talk about both of those
Sure.
consecutively, not simultaneously? That's what I think, maybe 10 or so. Yeah.
Okay.
I got it. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's start with the art. Because I've been doing that longer. When you visit orphanages in India and anywhere of the world, most orphanages are going to be similar to this, where there's someone that has a heart for children and they happen to have a piece of land, but they have no resources. They don't have outside support. They're really just people doing it out of the love of God or the love in their heart for children. And so when you visit these places after the first time, you want to bring something back with you the next time you come, because they have nothing.
Something solid.
Yeah,
tangible.
something to give them, something to make their life a little bit different. And you know, let's say there's 50 kids, and so you can't necessarily provide all the food for the whole year. But so I've tried to think, well, what can I do that will just make their day different? Will make, you know, somehow speak a message of hope to them. And one of the great tools I've found that works amazing is just bringing an art project. So I call it my Mary Poppins suitcase. I have this big red vinyl suitcase, and I go to Michael's and I fill it up with certain craft projects. And then when I go to the orphanage, I'll speak a message that is a message, you know, about their destiny. You know, I talk about thinking big in small places, which is a message that actually Tim's story that we just talked about, he and I developed a curriculum for children. It's called Comeback Kids. And we work together on it with a few other team members as a way to inspire kids to have a dream, to know that they have a special place in God's heart, and how to reach for it. And so I take bits of that and bits of my own and whatever God kind of gives me on my heart that day to speak about, and encourage them for who they are. And then I use the art as a way to show them their uniqueness. Like, for instance, this last time, I asked them each, what is your favorite color? And as we went around the room, you know, one person liked red, one person liked yellow, only 2 people liked purple, 5 people liked blue. So then I talked about how I said, you know, you're all a part of this rainbow, and you know, God uses each of you in a different way, but you all come together in a rainbow is as a spectrum. And they just start to see that, wow, I am special. I'm not just 1 in 26 million. Because when they're so little and so lost, they feel like they don't matter. So just those little messages of hope that, yes, you are unique. As you listen to God, as you learn to hear His voice, He'll tell you things that you can do to help other people. I said, you know, you're not too small to help in a big way. There might be, you know, a little thing that you can do that will make a big difference in someone else's life, even though you have nothing. I mean, that's the truth of it.
So true.
Just talk plain to them, you know. And then we'll do an art project. This time we did painting, and we also made jewelry. And the jewelry one is so special because we just put bins of beads, plastic beads, and they all sit around. And they get, you know, necklace strings, and then they each make what they want to make. And then when they're done, everybody's is different. No one has the same piece of jewelry.
Message,
Yes. And so you can talk to them about that, about how they all are, you know,
different choices.
Different, they're special.
And it's all good.
And this is something so simple. This is something they own. In the beginning, they would try to give it back to me. Like, here, you know, you can have it back. And I'm like, no, this is for you.
Yeah.
And so they'll wear it, and they'll be looking at it all day. And the little girls will run, and it will jingle on their chest. And the little boys, I'll see them pulling out their bracelet and looking at it and putting it back in. And it cost us nothing, but it made them feel for a day so special. And hopefully that message then sticks longer than a day.
They can remember.
They can remember it, and it brings a little bit of healing, and a little bit of hope.
Yeah, using art.
Yes, and so that's one thing that we like to do, is bring even artists, young artists, people going to school, art school.
So somebody looked at your website and
they can come as an intern.
They have to raise their own
they have to raise their own money, but we can do it fairly inexpensively nowadays, you know. And
can anybody stay there a couple weeks if they wanted to?
Yes, there's the abilities for them to stay pretty much as long as they want to, you know, kind of like I did. You just have to budget your way of how much money do you have to stay. And when you run out of money, it's time to go home. But
and the garden.
And then the other thing that we were working on this year launching is, as I mentioned, say you have 50 or 100 children in your care. That's about, you know, a couple $1,000s a month to feed. Maybe less, but still a lot of money that these people have to come up with month after month, because children never stop getting hungry. They continue to grow and need food. So I was praying and I said, God, we need an idea of how to feed these kids. How do we do it? And then one day we were watching Doomsday Preppers on TV, which is a TV show about people that are preparing for the end of the world. And we saw a family in California that had used their small yard to grow enough food to feed their entire extended family.
Wow.
So I thought, why can't we use that technology with our orphanages and our schools? They have rooftops, they have yards. And so that's what we're doing this year. We're partnering with universities that have good agricultural programs, such as Central Michigan University, Michigan State University, Whittier College. These are all possibilities. They're all interested. And we're going to take the brains of the kids, the interns,
or credit even.
Yeah, they get credit from their university. We'll bring them over there, and then.
Can you bring seeds across the ocean, or do you have to get them there?
There are places we can get them there, which is probably better, because then the seeds are adapted to that climate.
Customs might have attitude.
Yes, but you can. Yeah, there are organizations in the United States that also do. There are a lot of research on what seeds work best in what countries. So we'll tap into all that resources, all that knowledge that's there, but these our partners don't know it. So we're just sharing the knowledge that's out there, bringing it so that they can now help provide for themselves over the long term.
Plus the kids can feel like they're really a part of the orphanage by being out there in the gardens working.
And then for the rest of their life, they will know how to grow a kitchen garden to provide for their family. You know, it's really a neat idea, and people are excited about it, and it's going to help meet one of those physical needs that will make a difference for the long term.
You know, I read about this. I've supported different, not me, our church, different ministries in Israel, and there it gets really sticky to bring out Jesus right away, very boldly. But I always wonder, because I'm strong on the evangelistic part, and I always wonder, is there ever a temptation to get so involved because of love for their physical needs, but then we forget that other side of the coin, which is an eternal need. You know, do you ever struggle with that at all, that balance between the physical needs and the spiritual needs?
I don't personally, because it's so key to who I am. I mean, why live unless you have a relationship with the Father, with God, you know, through Jesus? That, to me, that's just the most important thing in the world, is that relationship. I mean, my own children that I've raised to young adulthood, that I've told them, you can do anything in life. Go and make any mistakes, just please keep that relationship right with God, because that's what will see you through. And so in India, you know, it is against the law to what they call proselytize. It's against the law to convert someone from one religion to another. And so you do have to follow the laws, and you do have to just be that example of love. And, you know, in the right ways, you can talk about...
Is there a way to circumvent? Or maybe we shouldn't...
No, I think, I think the...
no, I don't mean maybe we shouldn't do that.
Right. Well, like, for instance, the Christian schools, it's known that it's a Christian school, and the parents willingly send their children to a Christian school.
So you're not changing religions when...
So you're not forcing anything, no.
Okay. Is there a way for you to have that same kind of entree in India?
In the right settings. but I have to be wise about it.
Do you know of Christian orphanages? In other words, they're already Christians, so you're coming into a
Well, yeah, I mean, that's where Mother Teresa came from.
Christian orphanage? She
No,
herself?
she's the one who started the whole orphanage system.
Really?
that-
There wasn't before her?
well, I'm sure there were Christian orphanages, but,
Yeah, I would think,
but
yeah.
to think that Mother Teresa, well, what is she now? Saint Teresa.
Yeah.
I mean, so yes, the Catholic people have been in India for a long, long time doing their work. So it's a country that, for the most part, the major religions, Muslim, Hindu, Christianity, they do live peacefully together.
Because
But
they don't
the-
bother each other?
But it's a democracy,
so-called?
and
Yeah.
so laws change, and so
Yeah.
you want to be sensitive to the times.
Mhm.
And so there is a level of, you just have to do it wisely. I mean, and God says to us that we need to respect the rules of the land and the authorities that are there. And so we try to do that with our work. Respect the laws, and still minister grace and hope.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Yeah, and that's where I see God. He sets things ahead in advance. That's why He gives us ideas like gardens, because they aren't religious.
Yeah.
They're just a work that truly helps change people, keeps children alive, and it gives you an open door.
Are you feeling that open door?
Yeah, really,
Yeah.
very much. Yes, I feel like there's a grace on the work, and I just feel like God is always a step ahead of us. So
Yeah.
we just listen, and He directs us in the
He's
way
the whole
that
point.
is.
He could,
Yes.
like you said about the Vietnamese man, he saw you, saw where you're coming from, and then he initiated the questions.
Right.
So that's what we need to pray for and
Yes.
trust Him for.
Yes.
Because what profit a man if he gain the whole world but lose his soul? So that would always be behind my mind all the time. So you're like, God, please,
Right.
and then being patient and knowing that our times are in His hands and the times of the kids. I'm so proud of your mom. Would be so proud of you, I'm sure,
Thanks.
of the work that you're
Yes,
doing.
you both had a big part of my spirituality and my beginning of following Jesus.
Well, your
So-
mom was very, when we were living together, we do devotions together. She was very devout. Thank you for watching this. We had a good time talking. Hope you enjoyed it.